Welcome, everybody, to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wish's Mama. And on today's episode, we've got a hub episode because we are continuing our one-day park strategies. And today we're talking about our second Universal park. So we've got our good friends, Duck and Jess, here to impart their wonderful Universal knowledge, of which I have very little. So I desperately need them here to help me because we are talking about Islands of Adventure today in our in this series that we have started. So this is park 4 of 7 that we are hopping into today. But before we hop into it, Duck and Jess, how are you doing on this wonderful day today?
Doing pretty good.
Great.
Yeah, I think we're both excited to talk about IOA because we've spent quite a number of hours in IOA. This is probably like our between the Universal parks, our most visited for like theme park purposes. If we're counting HHN, that's a totally different ball game. But yeah, so like for park stuff, I think we've spent quite a bit of time over in IOA. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it. I really enjoy IOA.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff. Now that being said, we're kind of just gonna jump in. And here's the deal with this series, and we've said this before and we'll say it again. This is just, it is what it is. Our goal is to give you our best possible strategy for going to whatever park it is we're talking about today. Happens to be Islands of Adventure. We're going to give you 2 different attacks to this, one with using the express pass at Universal and one without. That being said, if there is something on our list that you're like, I don't want to do that, cool, awesome, just skip it and move on and continue on with the itinerary that we provide for you today. That also being said, we're not going to hit every single thing that you could possibly do in the park. This is like the highlights, right? This is, you've got one day. How can I make the most of that day in the park? So you'll hear us talk about, thrill rides. If you're not a thrill ride person, then skip them and move on. You might hear us mention, a show or a character along the way. If that's not you, then just skip it and move on. So you kind of have to have a little bit of a lay of the land before you listen to this, just so you know kind of what attractions are good for you and your group and which ones you're like, nope, we're going to skip that. All that being said, we did a whole deep dive series on Universal just a few months ago. So scroll back if you are a total newbie to Universal. That's totally cool. So am I. So I needed that as much as anybody. So scroll back to that. It is available in our archives wherever you are listening to us now. So that way you can familiarize yourself with Islands of Adventure before you listen to this, because you really do need to have some base knowledge, because we're not going to go into like super in-depth detail about any of the attractions or anything like that. So that's my best suggestion to you before you listen to what we've got to tell you today. And with that, I'm going to let Duck and Jess take it away because, as I have said and will continue to say, they are our Universal experts over here. So we are going to let them have at it. And I'm just here to listen, just like the rest of you. So Duck and Jess, let's hear what you've got to share with us for Islands of Adventure.
I'm very excited to impart all of our knowledge. Finally, all those theme park tickets have a purpose. No, I'm kidding. So like Jackie said, we're going to run this pretty similarly to how we've been doing the rest of the series. So we'll start up top with just like some general information. Some of it might be a little bit repeaty from our previous Universal episode, because some of the same principles hold true, because of just the nature of the way that they run their parks. And then we're going to run into a tentative itinerary and some suggestions with an express pass, and then without an express pass. The express pass, this one that we're doing, just like our other one, there are 2 types of express passes that are offered at Universal. There is an unlimited one, which is literally what it sounds like. It's like, I'm going to hop in this express pass and I'm going to ride VelociCoaster 14 times in a row. There is no limit or retraction. You know what? I'm sure someone out there has
Wouldn't
done it.
recommend.
Oh, I'm sure.
Ed.
Not me personally. As much as I love that coaster, no.
I think mostly done is like 3 or 4 times in a row. We had to cut it out.
I had to sit
like,
down.
nope,
I was like, "That's enough.
we're done."
I'm rapidly aging. This is not good." So there are 2 different versions, which is the Unlimited Express and then the Standard Express. The Standard Express is 1 express pass, basically 1 front of the line type pass per attraction. We're going with the more limited one. We're going with the standard as we're giving this advice, just because the unlimited can get pretty pricey, although that is offered in some of the higher end resorts as part of the package. So that is something as you're considering to price out. Like Jackie also said, we have like, I don't know, a 37-part series on Universal or something, talking in depth about like the different ticket options and the parks and what they all offer. So that is definitely something for you to look into as you are planning your vacation ahead of time. Okay, so with that little bit of preamble said, we're going to get into a little bit more of the actual details for IOA. So, rope drop. For anybody who doesn't know, that is right at park opening. It is literally physically a rope that drops, right? I mean, really, it's like one of those little like the red carpet. You know, I'm talking about the little stanchions. And
Does Universal still do actual ropes for theirs?
so they do them as
I
if
think so, yeah.
they do, but it is not like dropped. But they do have you see them in like malls when there's like the zigzag pattern of lines. Those
Yeah,
that's
like a
what they have.
stanchion style kind of.
Yes.
Fascinating, because I don't think any of the Disney parks actually have a physical rope anymore.
So we've seen it when we've gone in summer. They may not do it all the time, but
Okay.
when they need to funnel people, you can see they have team
We
members.
saw it at Epcot a couple years ago.
Yeah, at Epcot, but not. I'm talking about for Universal. Same idea though, where they'll kind of funnel you through the areas of the park that are going to be open. Right. In IOA's case, they're really going to open Hagrids and VelociCoaster for those early morning hours. And that's really, so they have team members there checking your card key because that early morning access is given to resort guests. So as long as you have that card key, you can go through, and then they do have the physical rope as a barrier that they will open and let you through if you are eligible to enter the park itself. So yeah, they do, because they kind of corral you, and then they still have it, which is a little surprising. I didn't think they still would, but the last few times that we went with early entry, they had them. So
I kind of love that. I wish Disney would bring that back just because like that terminology is kind of like lost on so many now because it's like it used to be the literal physical rope. Like I can recall previously, they literally would walk you down the walkways in the parks with the rope to enter you. So, okay, anyway, but I digress. What do we need to know about when to get there for rope drop for IOA?
So we gave this advice last time, and this holds true, that you were going to want to get there between a half hour and an hour before your earliest time. That is generally, you are allowed to get in at 8 a.m. if you are a resort guest, and it is 9-ish for anybody else who is staying off property or an annual pass holder or what have you. We give such a dramatic range because it's really hard to tell time of year, what attractions are going to actually be open, how busy it'll be, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are going, you can kind of get a feel, even how busy your resort is or how many cars are in the parking lot, right? Like you can kind of guess if it's going to be a busy time of year, if it's Christmas, if it's a summer break, something like that. So those instances, you are going to want to get up and get your butt there pretty early, at least an hour before, so 7-ish, a little after. And then, if it's a slower time, if it's just like a random Wednesday in the spring, you're usually good to just do the half hour early to get in there and to start knocking some rides out. So we also have, I do just want to touch on it briefly. We talked about it in the last episode, so I won't go through it as in depth, but for City Walk, for anybody who doesn't know, that's like the nightlife district. It's like a separate, almost like a Disney Springs type situation with a lot of entertainment. There's movie theaters, there's restaurants, etc. If you have only one day, we do not really recommend spending too much time in there, but you do have to walk through it if you are coming from off property. So if you are Ubering in or you are parking in the parking garage, your security checkpoint will be just before City Walk, and you will walk through City Walk, and then you'll go left to go to Islands of Adventure.
Totally related but unrelated question. Where do the buses drop you off?
So the buses will drop you off. There is, that's a good question.
There's a spot in the parking garage.
So there is a spot.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
So even if you're taking the resort buses, don't you still come in at the parking garage?
You do, but and it's a little bit different than how they do it at Disney for like the security screening, right? So like you get screens. Really what I'm thinking about is like Magic Kingdom. I guess it's not really that different. So yeah, it dumps you in the parking garage. It was
Okay.
a little different for a while, but I think they've gone back to the parking garage now.
That's what I was thinking as I was like, and I thought that when I was listening to the other episode when I was editing it.
I was like, buses go, man.
I was like, wait a minute, where do the buses drop you off? And I was like, wait, I think they drop you off at the same spot. Okay, we're good. That was all. Just wanted some clarification for my own brain on that.
Yep, totally fair. Yes, there's a little special area in the parking garage that they'll drop you off.
So if you're taking like the boat or walking, like you end up going through a different checkpoint and you end up like coming out closer to either USF or IOA, depending on like which side of the property your resort is on. So you don't walk all the way through City Walk.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So the other thing to note throughout the discussion is that IOA has many more attractions that are like e-ticket type attractions than USF did, right? So there might be some harder decisions that need to be made. However, we are going to keep referencing the two big ones, which is Hagrid's Magical Motorbike Creature Adventure or something like that.
The longest name. It's got the longest name.
It's too many. It's too many. It is like a Panic at the Disco song or Fall Out Boy song.
Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure.
That's it. So all 70 of those words. So there's Hagrid's and then there's VelociCoaster. So those are like the two true blue big attractions. They are both coasters. So if that does not interest you, there are plenty of other things to be done, right? There's the Amazing Spider-Man, which is like, it's like a motion simulator ride, but it's a little less violent than most motion simulators I've found. There's a billion things to do over in the Jurassic Park area. There is additional rides within the Harry Potter area. Of course, there's Seuss Landing, right? So there's a trillion other things. To do. But we are sort of going to build these schedules around the two big ones because that is, for folks who are theme park folks, generally going to be the big draw is those two rides. That this really becomes more impactful when we're talking about the non-express. You are going to be crisscrossing this park much more. So with USF, we were kind of able to just send you in a circle pretty logically. It is simply not going to be this way at IOA. There are so many different attractions that are so like they're just diagonal to each other, right? And there's no direct route, so you kind of have to go all the way around to get to them. It is just the way that the park was constructed, so it can be a lot more walking if you do not have express and you are determined to hit as many rides as humanly possible. So just something to keep in mind. There's a lot more crisscrossing, a lot more walking. If hitting everything is your big goal, right? We'll talk about it more later, but you know, if you have your top couple, that's less of a sticking point with the way that IOA is designed. But just a heads up, there's going to be a lot more running back and forth with this one.
Yeah, don't love that about just the Universal parks in general. Now, granted, some of the Disney parks are not much better, right? If you look at the map of like a Hollywood Studios, it's terrible, right? It's terrible if you're trying to get from, Rock and Roller Coaster to Rise of the Resistance. Absolutely horrendous to get there. However, Universal really didn't, I don't know. I feel like there wasn't a ton of thought put into that other than, oh, we want pretty water in the middle. Okay, yeah, but now your people are...
Right.
Like literally lapping the lake that you put in the middle of your park.
It was much more, it was designed almost as the larger sibling of USF. So they took those same design principles of water in the middle, loop it around, make like a random bridge across two sections in the back of the park before some of these extensions, right? So when Hagrid's used to be a set of coasters called Dueling Dragons, that was the big attraction. And so we had one big attraction in the back, and then of course the Incredible Hulk has been there, I think, since opening. So that was the other big attraction, and that was in the front. And then you kind of had like these other like disparate things connecting them through these different lands, right? I think also what hurts it is the fact that a whole section is gone, right? The Lost Continent is gone. So when you are trekking from Seuss Landing all the way back either into Jurassic or into the Harry Potter section, it feels like a trillion-mile walk because there is no longer a land with attractions in it to
Right.
break up that walk, right? So I think that's also, I think some of the design stuff, it was designed for when the park was simply different,
Right.
and it's much more difficult now. I would really love they just put an island with some bridges coming off of it in the middle. I think that would be a welcome update, but I just based on the design of the park, I simply don't think that they will.
Yeah. The hub and spokes layout of theme parks works for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think that Universal has the spokes but not the hub. So
Yes.
we're just kind of stuck going from spoke to spoke instead of being able to crisscross a little bit more efficiently.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, no matter what, you're still going to get caught going across the park, right? I
Yeah.
mean, even at like Magic Kingdom, that is literally the epitome of a hub and spoke park, you still have to trek crisscross and you still get up, 20,000 steps in when you're there during the day.
Minimum.
However, it's a little bit easier to navigate and you don't feel like you're constantly going in circles when you have the ability to make a more of a straight line path to get where you're trying to go. So I digress. It is what it is. We'll figure it out, right? That's what we're here for. We are here to help you, help us. We'll all figure it out together.
That's it. We're all aboard the struggle bus together, guys. That's the move.
There's
So
actually a
true.
song about this.
All right, so we are going to talk first about using Express Pass, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay,
this
so
is-
what do we need to know? Tell us, Jess.
Yeah. So again, this is if you do have the single use standard express pass. And again, big thrill ride people. So this is, kind of the focus of the recommendations. If you are not thrill ride coaster people, you can skip over some of these recommendations. So the morning itinerary between 7 and 8, you're going to want to arrive at the park. So like we said earlier, arriving about an hour early, half hour to an hour before your earliest like entry time. So if Hagrids and VelociCoaster are on your list, you'll want to head off to the right. With early entry, you kind of get funneled through Seuss Landing and the Lost Continent area. And then you end up rip RIP.
Yeah. As Victoria in our chat just said, the lost continent is lost.
And then you have kind of the choice from there to go off towards the right to the Harry Potter section to ride Hagrid's, or off towards the left to go to VelociCoaster. If Hagrid's is a priority for your party or even something that you think you might want to ride, we honestly recommend making that your first stop. The line tends to get very long very quickly, even during the early like entry hours. So definitely, see how long that wait is. You might have to just eat your express pass right now on it, or you can maybe sneak in a ride without it and then maybe get on it again later, but probably not.
Which I do just want to interrupt really quick, Jess. Hagrid's now accepts Express.
Mhm.
For a very long time, it did not, and as of May of 25, so I don't know, 5 months ago, I don't know numbers. As of a few months ago, 6. Okay, I was pretty close. That's actually pretty good for me on the fly math. But yeah, so it now accepts Express, and it also depends on when you are getting into the park. The early morning entry, you can't use Express. So if you were getting there and you were thinking that it's just like a touch too long, maybe turn tail, head back to VelociCoaster, or just get something to eat really quick, or just like wander around for a couple minutes. And then as it gets closer to that like official opening time at 9 or so, then you can pop in the line and burn the Express Pass if you want to.
Now, Hagrid's also has a single rider line. However, that single rider line can also get extremely long and will not be open during that early entry time. So that's another option if your group is able to utilize the single rider line, depending on ages and all that good stuff. But keep that in mind as well, that line can be very, very long.
Yeah.
So
Hagrid's is like a 2-seat across situation. So it's very rare that I think like they end up with a single rider needed. So that's why it does sometimes take just as long to get through the single rider line.
I will also say during the peak, I know it is extremely untypical of a single rider line, but when we have gone over the summer, they have had the single rider open line even for the early morning express or early morning hours. So it is really uncommon. I don't think that they do this all the time, but I think when their ticket numbers hit over a certain amount, they're like, we just got to get this going. But I do agree with I just want to, third that the single rider Hagrid's is truly a unique situation, and it is, I don't want to say generally not advised, but just be prepared that the single rider may not be faster than any of the other lines.
All right. So we've gone towards Hagrid's. We're making a decision. What do we need to do after that?
Yes. So if you choose to ride Hagrid's, then after that, your next bet is to go over to VelociCoaster, ride that. You can typically get on it, especially this early in the morning, without using your express pass. VelociCoaster is a pretty high capacity ride. So it typically, will have lower wait times throughout the day. So definitely try to get in some rides without your express pass now. You can maybe even ride it again if you want to.
Which we totally have.
We have. We've just gone right back on.
I think we rode it 3 times in a row once, and we were all like in through the queue on the ride and done with those 3 rides in 45 minutes. I mean, like, it is shocking how quickly they move people through there.
Yeah. So that would be our recommendation. If you've done VelociCoaster once and don't want to do it again, or you don't want to do it at all, then we recommend continuing back on to the rest of the Harry Potter section, where you can ride the 2 rides that are in there, which is the Forbidden Journey, Castle Ride, and then Flight of the Hippogriff. And so kind of doing Hagrid's and VelociCoaster will probably put you somewhere around the 10 to 11 a.m. mark, depending on if you had the early entry or not. So then, from there, ride the other Harry Potter rides. Flight of the Hippogriff is one we would recommend if you have like young kids who are like, maybe this is their first roller coaster that they can do. It's really like, if you ride it as an adult, it is just a terrible chiropractic adjustment. It is not a good time for like a grown adult.
It is a very cute coaster. I just do not know that I can physically go on it again.
Yeah, it's like
Totally fair.
A one and done if you're an adult.
Yeah,
So just use your express pass, just get through, do it for the cuteness, and then go about your day. Maybe get some ice for your knees and take a rest. And then you could also have some breakfast if you wanted to before doing the Harry Potter rides. Typically, like the castle ride has a lot of screens. It's like
it's the animatronic arm.
Right, you're on the arm, and it's
Moves
like,
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you get flipped around quite a bit.
yes, and it does tend to make Duck a little motion sick. So if you are somebody that is kind of sensitive to things like that, we don't recommend eating before riding those rides. Maybe wait till after, get some lunch early, rather than doing like a breakfast beforehand. But if you can handle it, go for it.
More power to you. Not
Power
me.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Forbidden Journey is one of the like top motion sick concerns when it comes to universal rides, just in general.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Do also keep in mind that these we understand that those Harry Potter areas are super immersive, and a lot of people like that's their jam, that's their favorite thing. You can go through the queue and then just bail out before the ride. So like if you want to see all of the details and all of the everything in there, go through the queue and then just let the cast member know towards the end, like, hey, I'm not riding. And they'll show you exactly where to go to chicken exit, they call it, quote unquote, but to exit out. So that way you can just, not endure the motion sick aspect of that. But you are still welcome to go through that queue if that's something that you're like, hey, my family wants to ride. I don't want to ride. I'm going to stay in the queue with them and then just bail.
Yep. Totally fair.
Exactly.
No shame in dipping out.
Yep.
For sure. Okay, so after we've hit through the Harry Potter area, what's
We
next?
recommend you continue on into the Jurassic area to then get lunch. So there's a trillion options in the Jurassic Park area. I mean, they're all generally safe options, right? There's like, I think a pretzel stand in there. There's a little pizza place. And then there is where we will usually eat, which is called Thunder Falls Terrace. You can't miss it. It's in the giant building that looks like the giant building in Jurassic Park.
The Welcome Center,
The Welcome
whatever
Center.
it is. Yeah.
That was the word, not the giant building. The Welcome Center. Thank you.
Same thing.
Word. Yeah, same thing, whatever. It is technically a giant building. So
Exactly.
it's on the second floor up there. It's just a quick service place, right? I think they do like, you can double check the menu, but we usually will just get like some quick chicken fingers and fries up there. So this if you're following along with our itinerary, this will put you at a slightly earlier lunch, even if you were able to do Hagrid's, VelociCoaster, and then into the castle, or anything else in that area. This will still put you about 11:30 and 12, so it's like starting to get into when people are looking for lunch, but still on the earlier end of that. And that is, I think, I'm sure we've all said it at some point through this whole series, which is please, please, please try to eat at off times if you can.
Yes.
Yep.
It will save you. It really will. So if you can go early and wait late for different, for dinner or whatever, that's the way to go. There's tons of snacks, and we said it in our earlier one, you're more than welcome to bring in snacks, right? Like emergency Cheez-Its are always welcome in Universal. So if you do not want to continue on into the Jurassic Park portion yet, though, you can instead turn around and head back towards the Seuss Landing area. We especially recommend this if you have kiddos who need to get like post-lunch wiggles out, right? Like we all know kids, it's exciting. They maybe got like a little too much juice for lunch and it's over from there, right? So because the Seuss Landing area really is the area that's like most child friendly, with all of the attractions in there, there is Circus McGurkus Cafe, which on top of being fun to say is also like a solid quick service location. So you can pop in there, have some food, and then knock out a couple of the things that are in Seuss Landing. The waits in Seuss Landing generally they generally do not get above like 15-ish minutes. Maybe a touch higher if it's like a really, really busy time. But it's like pretty reliably low waits, and there is like, like a carousel and a little like play area, so kiddos can get a little bit of energy out. If you did choose to go to the Jurassic, there's also Camp Jurassic for the same effect. There's a little playground. It's dinosaur themed. If you needed to just let a little kiddo run around while you're digesting your chicken fingers, that is a-okay. So once you have had your lunch, some delicious, delicious chicken fingers, perhaps a pizza, listen, if you want to get really crazy with it, this is going to stick you around 12:30 to 1:30, depending on, again, how busy it is, how long you were taking, right? Like we like to take a slightly longer lunch when we have express because it lets us like sit and cool down in the air conditioning and maybe miss some of that like real heat of the day, for the times of year that we go. And then you can either hit up a few things in Jurassic, which we do recommend. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there. We particularly love the Jurassic River Adventure. There's also it's like a cross between a show and a meet and greet, the little raptor encounter, which is extremely fun. And again, like we said before, if you have kiddos who need to run around, there's Camp Jurassic, which is a really good spot. There's also Pterodon Flyers, which is the like child exclusive. You can only get on there if you have a small child. It's basically just like it's like a bike ride above that area of the park. So it's like a pretty cool, unique thing, where kiddos get to see, like, they really feel like they're flying on a dinosaur, basically.
So Pteranodon Flyers, what else is in that Jurassic area that we may have missed?
Other than Pteranodon Flyers, you can also do the Jurassic River Adventure, like I just mentioned, which is their Splash Mountain is maybe how I'll put that. That's perhaps the closest equivalency I can give. I shall give no more details. We love that ride. It is very fun. So once you've done a couple of things in Jurassic, it also has a great atmosphere. I really love it in there. In the Welcome Center, there is also like little activities on the ground floor, like as if you are truly in the Welcome Center for Jurassic Park. So that's like a fun little activity, and also you can hang out in air conditioning for a couple minutes. It's pretty great. But once you are done in that section, continuing on within like the circle of IOA, you would then come next to Kong Skull Island, which has a single attraction. It is perhaps generous calling it an island, but they classify it as an island unto itself. So like in the most technical sense, that is true. I'm going to call Kong a one and done for us, and I think for most people. I've never met anybody who is like a Universal fan who's like, you gotta ride Kong 3 times when you go. Like, It is a motion simulator ride. You're in a Jeep and it is rough riding. So if you've never done it, I recommend doing it once. It's a pretty cool ride, but just like burn the express pass and move on. There's don't linger here. Don't wait. Just use the express and go.
Yep.
So once you're done with getting bounced around in Kong's Jeep, you can then move on to Toon Lagoon is the next area. So there's 2 rides in Toon Lagoon. There is Popeye and Bluto's Bilge Rat barges. Very difficult to say. That is
What is with these names, Universal?
again, like these were all named in the 90s is what happened, right? Like this is a very 90s theme park in the most loving way possible. They've done a lot to update it, but there are still remnants. So there's that, which is like a rapid style ride, right? You're like in this circular boat situation and you kind of get rocked around and splashed and whatnot. And then there is Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls. And that is a log flume for people who really actually just wanted to go swimming. You are
That's the best way to put it.
you are going to get soaked on this ride. It is merciless. That you truly might as well just have dove in a pool. It's crazy. So if you're not super into getting soaking at that exact moment, which I was gonna say, which we are not. I'm not a water ride person. I don't like being like then dripping wet walking around a theme park. That's not my vibe. This is also one you can come back to later in the evening. A lot of people will just do this as their last thing on the way out. You know, you do it or, you don't have to. We usually skip it, but we do like walking through Toon Lagoon because it is just a fun themed area that, like, I know I was joking about it being from the 90s or whatever, but like it is truly like a fun remnant of when theme park design was thought of a little bit differently. And it is also fun. Like there's little photo ops in there. There's usually like a couple different character photo ops. Popeye and Olive Oil will meet regularly. So there's also a little playground in there on Me Ship the Olive Oil, I think it's called, from Popeye. So like it's just very fun. It's just very, I think, nostalgic for people our age and older. I don't know that a lot of children are like
know who these people are anymore.
or like oh my god,
Nope.
Dudley Do Right, right?
Nope.
So zero clue. Even for the
Zero
Brendan
clue.
Fraser movie, I don't think there's enough children who are aware of it.
Once we decide that we're not getting drenched, where are we headed next?
So once you don't want wet socks, we're just gonna move on through. The next area is the Marvel Superhero Island, which I know might confuse some people. They are technically legally allowed to use these Marvel characters east of the Mississippi. That's the rule. So there are a bunch of shocking characters that show up. So you get like Captain America and Wolverine and miscellaneous members of the Fantastic Four and the Hobgoblin and Storm and like everybody. It's just a bunch of random characters. So yeah, they do have the rights to those. Surprising as it is technically only here on the East Coast. So this seems like the only non-Disney Marvel section with these heroes that ever will be. Which is like a weird quirk, and I just love it. It's just so.
Isn't it like that for like ever? Like,
Yeah,
these
it's like
rights will never expire for Universal.
I believe it is in perpetuity. I believe that's
it's
true. Anna in the chat just put it perfectly. It's like the comic book versions, right? So it is very specific iterations of these characters that they are permitted to have. So it's like comic costume Wolverine. It's
Right.
not Hugh Jackman Wolverine, right? So like
Which is why Disney can have Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's not a blanket Marvel MCU contract agreement.
right. It is
Yeah.
very specific characters in very specific instances. And there is a parade where they are all on four-wheelers. They are,
And we talked about this last time.
and it's because it is so shocking. Like, I couldn't have written a comedy bit better. Well, I'm talking, Jess is facing me, my back is to the window, and I'm talking about how these characters are like able to be used by Universal. And in the background,
They
they're
start driving by.
Driving by slowly on their four-wheelers.
It was so
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Funny.
That's amazing.
It
I love this.
Like, I could not have scripted a better moment. It was just amazing. That, like, slowly, and you can, like, hear, like, the Doppler effect, right? Like, it's slowly getting louder as they're passing by. It's just incredible. It's just amazing.
I love this. Amazing.
So if you want to catch a very interesting parade, they run that a couple times throughout the day to just see your favorite superheroes on four-wheelers for funsies.
Love it.
They all
Love
have
it.
sick custom paint jobs. They're like cool four-wheelers. It's just not what you'd imagine.
Yeah, I don't know that I would ever. Yeah, I don't know that I would ever picture that. So, yeah, sounds great. Anyway,
Yes. Moving on. So this'll back to the itinerary. This should place you like 3:34-ish. You can grab food at the cafe that's right there. I think it was Captain America thing. I think it's Fantastic Four themed, and then there's like a Captain America portion to it. Whatever they're calling it nowadays, there is a singular cafe in there. So if you are really feeling food, like maybe you decided to eat later rather than early, now would be a good time to just pop in and grab something quick. Or if you want to late and delay dinner until later, there is an Annie Ann's pretzel cart, which has really good pretzels that is also within the land. It's right across from the exit of Spider-Man, I believe. So that is like a good quick snack to just hold you over if need be.
I feel like we talk about pretzels in every Universal episode now.
Because they have amazing deals with Annie Ann's. I think it's also like in perpetuity. Annie Ann's can just exist in Universal. It's crazy.
I love it. I love it.
So we're pretzel people.
It's
true. I like a snack. You like a plastic cheese moment. So what's not to love? But within the land, when it comes to like actual things to do in the Marvel superhero section, there's the big three, right? So there is the Incredible Hulk coaster, which is literally impossible to miss from anywhere in the park. There is the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, which I mentioned earlier. It is like a motion simulator ride with some 3D glasses. If you are super duper sensitive to motion, this might be a no-go. I am pretty sensitive to motion, and I'm totally okay on this. And I think it's because you're really like moving through space with a little bit of motion simulation screen to it. So that for me, that helps. If that's also good for you, then this is a great ride. I love it. And there's also Doctor Doom's Fearfall, which if anybody has ever been on like those old school parachute tower rides where they bring you up and drop you, it is like that, but inverse, because you go really fast going up and then they slowly drop you back down. It's kind of like a reverse Tower of Terror almost, right? Where they pull you up really quick and then they slowly lower you like halfway and then they pull you up really quick, and that's like the motion.
I didn't realize it was inverse. I always assumed it was the standard tower.
Yeah, and I think everybody does, and that's like the trick of it, right? Because they inverted the expected like ride experience.
Yeah. Fascinating. Now,
real.
Right. Now I do just want to clarify, if in case anyone is wondering, as we are going through these, you guys are suggesting that express passes are being used for all of these as we are going through, correct? So
Yes.
when we're hitting things like these 3 rides in the Marvel area, these are with your express pass.
Correct.
Just wanted to make sure that we remembered where we were, for ourselves and for the listening audience
Well,
too.
there's 17 sidebars at this point. That's so fair. I will say Doctor Doom's very rarely has the long wait because it's a really high capacity ride, and a lot of people don't like the drop tower style rides, so it does not have a very long. I think the longest I've ever seen was maybe 10 minutes, if that. Like, it does not take very long. But that's also one, like, if you just simply don't feel like waiting even for like the next car to arrive, basically, right? Like, you can just use your express and burn it and be done with it. And you can always go back on in reasonable time. Spider-Man can have a very long wait. So the one thing that I will say is, if it is extremely hot out and you have to pick a ride to be sort of like it's in your top and you know you're going to have to wait, I would nominate Spider-Man to be the one that you wait at, because it has great air conditioning and it's like fun little like almost like interactive bits through it. It's not like a Peter Pan in Magic Kingdom where there's like fully interactive, but there's like little voice clips and you can hear Jonah Jameson calling Peter Parker and you can hear like the villains trying to hatch their plan as you're going through it. So there is a little bit of storyline to the queue and it is great air conditioning. So if I have to nominate something for you to wait in a line for, it's not like forever, but it can get a little on the higher spectrum of waiting. I recommend Spider-Man. I really do. It's like a nice, comfortable queue to be stuck in if you have to pick one.
Plus, if you're a comic nerd, there's like all kinds of little Easter eggs and stuff throughout the queue too, so that's fun to like look out for. So
I just turned into like that Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme where I'm like, that one, it's over there. And then sets from that
they're
comic.
constantly yelling something at me. And I'm like, okay,
You're like,
that's
sure,
here.
whatever you say, darling.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God. And then this is the date from this crossover. And you're like, whatever, sweetie. Sure.
Yep.
I love this. Okay, so we've hit the 3 inside of the Marvel area. What's our next plan?
So I actually will have one more caveat. Depending on the time of day that you are going through this, we do not recommend going on the Incredible Hulk if it is extremely hot out or it is like if it's summer and it's like 1:32
Peak afternoon sun is like directly above you in the sky. Like, don't do it.
Come back later. Come back later because it gets very hot in that queue. Now the queue goes pretty fast. It's another high capacity ride. It can be anywhere between like on the medium end, like 30 minutes up to we've seen like, I'm going to say like an hour and change. So it can be a pretty long wait. Actually, I think the longest that we've seen it be was like almost 2 hours during like real peak summer season. So it doesn't happen often because like I said, it's a very high capacity ride, but prepping for the worst case scenario gets hot in there. On top of that, it is a launch coaster. It launches you into the sun. and if you are like poor Jess, you are going to like gray out.
Yeah.
Like she like borderline.
I never have an issue on any other ride. Like, this is not a thing anywhere else, but something about the launch on Hulk and then just like staring right at the sun. Like, it is, I can't do it.
Yeah. So this is severely dependent on time of day and what other plans you have going on, right? Maybe you can't double back to hit Hulk later. And so it's now or never. It's okay. The express goes pretty quick as long as there's no mechanical issues. But it gets really warm in there. I think the longest we waited for express on Hulk was a half hour because there were some mechanical issues. And it will shoot you straight into the sun. So like maybe just close your eyes. Like totally. It's just like once you get past the launch, you're okay. And in fact, you are not the only person that I've heard that from. I routinely hear this, even for like big coaster people like us. So if you can wait and ride it at night, I think you're going to have a more comfortable experience and the wait times drop significantly. I think it's usually like a 25-minute wait, usually after like 6 o'clock ish. So you go through, that's with or without express. Like you can go through really quick. So if you can avoid being blinded, we highly recommend it. But if there's simply no choice and it's now or never, don't skip the Hulk if you're a coaster person. It is a fun coaster.
Duly noted.
Yeah. So listen, I know that's crucial information for you in particular.
Yep.
Big coaster head over here. All right. You ready?
Yeah. So that kind of puts you around dinner time, around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So you can either head to like the port of entry area, which is the entrance to IOA, or you can grab some food. Or you could do what we recommend and head over to Seuss Landing. You can go to Circus McGurkus for some food and then, kind of hang out in there.
Port of Call has a couple of food options. We've never eaten there, not because I'm like, oh my God, get away from me, but the choices there, I would classify them as more friendly for adventurous eaters because there is like several different fusion areas. There's a Starbucks if you just need like a quick coffee. That's not a fusion situation. That's just a Starbucks. So like that is always a good option if you need just like a quick caffeine hit. But that's why we are recommending like just continue on to Circus McGurkus if you are not interested in like a sit down fusion situation. I think that then continuing on.
Yeah. We tend to eat very like not bland in theme parks, but we tend to stick with like the safer options.
Oh, I eat like a child.
Yeah.
100%. I'm like, chicken fingers. Yes, please.
Right.
Hand it over.
But
And
people
French
with tummy
fries?
issues at times. So
Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's it.
Yep.
So however you choose to eat at theme parks. But yeah, so then heading to Seuss Landing, Circus McGurkus has very safe options for dinner. And then this is really the cleanup time, kind of like we said with studios. But if you have kiddos and you skip Seuss Landing before, this is definitely a time to kind of explore all the rides in there, especially the very unhinged Cat in the Hat dark ride.
Listen, that ride is adorable.
It's great.
It is. No, we love it. But it is very unhinged.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's just it's what you would expect, immersing yourself into the Cat in the Hat story. I love it. It's adorable. It's like it's
We
so
ride it every time.
No,
Right.
love it. It's like unhinged is a compliment
Yeah.
here.
right.
To be clear, it's not like, oh my God, never go on this. This is the worst. It's you have to experience this. It's just
Yep.
crazy.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So ride the unhinged ride. There's also like the little carousel in there. There's like a couple of cute little rides for kiddos in there. So that is something to do. And then really now it's time to like slow down, do some shopping. If you haven't, used your Express Pass on something throughout the day, go back and, burn through the Express Pass. But really, I think with IOA, you kind of really have to use Express for most of the day to get through everything, just because there is so much more to offer here than at studios. But, again, it's towards the end of the night though. So even if there's something you use Express on and maybe now the line is a little bit shorter, you can go back and do that. Or if you, like us, chose to not go swimming, you can go back to the Toon Lagoon area and go on those rides, as you're heading out of the park. And then for kind of nighttime entertainment, Universal is not super big on it. They're getting there and then adding a lot of things, but the only kind of nighttime thing that they have here is the projection show on the Harry Potter castle. So it's not always running, but if it is, definitely head over there. If you're there at Halloween time, I think they have something at Christmas, right? Or at Christmas. At Christmas time, they have like a special winter like show. So if you're there at that time of year.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay. So I think that kind of, for the most part, wraps up our With Express day.
Yes.
So let's move on now to talking about if we do not have Express, because I think this is a little bit trickier for a one-day strategy. So what do we need to know without Express?
Yes. So,
Pack your walking shoes.
right. Yeah. So like we said earlier, definitely you're going to be doing a lot more crisscrossing across the park without Express passes. It is probably not going to be possible to hit every single ride in the park. So like with USF, we do recommend kind of picking your top 3 must-dos, focusing on that, and then everything else is gravy. So you, again, crisscrossing back and forth. IOA is also a much bigger park too, like we've kind of been talking about. So it is, kind of that big circle. So there's not really a lot of like easy cut throughs to get around. So you kind of do have to like go around in circles or like make a half circle, then go back the other half circle to get to the other side of the park.
Round and round we go.
Yeah. And then again, like it's also harder to give exact timing of things, just due to the fact that again, you don't have those express passes. So you might get stuck in a 3-hour line for Hagrids if that's really something that you want to do. And then that kind of throws off the whole timing of your day. So again, like we mentioned in the last episode about USF, the app is going to be your best friend when you're doing this without express passes. It's really going to be your guide, kind of setting alerts, keeping an eye on the times on the app. And definitely, like, if you see an attraction that you really want to do drop below 45 minutes, definitely head, over there and hop in line as soon as you can, because you might not see a line that low throughout the rest of the day. And then without Express, the general, kind of move would definitely be to knock out 1 and 2 of your big 3 as fast as possible. So if that's, VelociCoaster and Hagrids, head right there, hop in on those lines, get those done and over with, and then you can kind of go about the rest of your day and kind of hit in number 3 if you can, or if it's got too long of a line, maybe kind of hit some of those other things that do have shorter waits, and then go back to that kind of towards the end of the night or close to closing. Kind of same with Disney. If you get in line and the park closes, they will let you stay in line until you get on the ride. So maybe save that really big ticket that has a very long line for the end of the night.
But don't wait until the 11th hour, because there are times where they will be like, we know we close at 9 o'clock, but we are cutting the line at 8:45. So
Yeah.
they
Don't wait too long.
Yeah, don't wait too long, but like towards the end of the day.
If you make it into the line, you will stay in line. So make it before they cut off the line.
It's not going to just start ripping people off
Right.
the line. We're close. Get out of here.
I know you've been here an hour, but you gotta go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right to the front. Sorry, park is closed. They
Done.
Shutter the gates in front of you.
Oh my gosh. Now, I will ask, because I know at Disney there are some rides that like can be questionable as far as like downtimes and like breaking down. Are there any of the big rides at IOA that you're like, oh, they're questionable? Maybe don't wait till the end of the night and do it in the morning, because you may or may not run into a down issue.
Hagrid's.
Okay.
Hagrid's.
That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't certain.
Just death drops like a drag queen. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Hagrid's likes to go down like nothing I've ever seen before. I get it. There's a trillion moving parts. It's a very complex coaster. 100%. I understand why it goes down so much. But Hagrid's goes down with such frequency that, like, if somebody looks at it wrong at 11 o'clock, it's not coming back up until 3, right? Like,
Cool.
they've gotten much better as the attraction has been open for a number of years. Just like anything, right? Like, I feel like I feel like the same way about Tron, right? Where when Tron first opened, that thing was down like you wouldn't believe. But as the engineers who work on it and the maintenance staff kind of like got to know the quirks about the ride and whatever, and have like a good action plan in place for, I think, common break points and maybe things to avoid or whatever, or like easy fixes for things, it's the fix times have come up quicker, but it still goes down with fair frequency. So like it really truly, Hagrid's is the one that we have to say, if it is of interest to you, just especially without Express, go right there.
Yeah.
Power walk, get your butt back there, because it's also in the back of the park. So that's the other difficulty. We're not seeing those crazy 4-hour waits for Hagrid's like there once was, where it's like all the way through to Seuss Landing is the line for Hagrid's. We're just not seeing that anymore, which is very nice.
Right.
But still, it is.
Sorry.
That's okay. How dare you? But still, we're seeing enough of a long enough wait, partially because of how often it goes down.
Right.
So that is 100%. That's a fair thing to ask. I think Hagrid's is really the only one that I would say goes down often enough to cause a potential problem, and sort of you want to get that done first thing in the morning, and then everything else really stays up pretty good. VelociCoaster, knock on wood that nothing changes, as soon as this podcast episode comes out. But VelociCoaster stays up pretty well, and when it does break down, it's like a pretty quick turnaround time in our experience.
Perfect.
Especially if you're going right to it first thing in the morning. Like most of the time, it's like a nice cooperative dinosaur in the morning.
Love that.
So yeah,
love that for us.
Hagrid's is the problem child. Everything else stays up pretty well.
Perfect. That is good to know, because like I figured there had to be one, because I feel like every park is that way to an extent, especially when you've got multiple big rides. It's like, let's figure out which one is the questionable one when it comes to that. So
Especially
perfect. All right.
So many moving parts to them, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like show scenes that are interconnected to timing with the coaster, and there's just so much to it. Whereas the other coasters in the park don't necessarily have that component. So Hagrid's is the problem child.
Hooray. So yes, duly noted. Write that down. Go there first. That is what it is. So speaking of first, what do we need to know before we actually get to go to Hagrid's for our non-express itinerary here? What do we need to know about the morning at IOA?
Yeah, so it's non-negotiable that you need to get there early. If you have the early entry, the hour should be safe, right? Because like that's fine. You get your early entry. If you do not have that early entry, you need to be there raring to go, maybe even more than an hour, maybe even an hour and change, an hour and 15, if it is the busy season like the holidays or like summer break. Because you are then competing to get onto Hagrid's or whatever your number one attraction is, not only with everybody else in your area, but everybody else who is already in there for the early entry, right? And that's a little bit less of a concern if you have Express, because you can always come back later or burn that Express pass now and be done with it. But if you do not have Express and one of those really big top tier attractions are on your list, you are going to want to be able to be in the front of the pack who are entering at any given time. That is 100% the advice that we have for you. So once you've emotionally prepared to just camp out overnight right in Iowa,
Don't actually do that.
no, please don't.
Duck.
Please don't. I can't prove anything. No one can prove it was me snorkeling in that lake at 3 a.m., okay? There's no evidence. So once you are in the park and you scanned in, you're corralled in your appropriate area, wherever that may be, you are going to want to run to whatever your number one attraction is. Please don't sprint, just a nice power walk. But you are going to head right to, just like a nice, like you're in the Olympics of power walking, like
The mall walking. A nice mall walk pace.
Yeah. So if you are, again, like we were just saying before, if Hagrid's is on your list, go right there. VelociCoaster, like we said earlier, usually has fairly low-ish wait times for the first hour or so, right? It's a manageable line. So we usually, like we said, recommend beeline to Hagrid's if it's even a thought in your mind that you want to get on this. Go right there. Once you are done with that, you can head over to VelociCoaster if that's of interest to you, or if it's not, it might also be a good idea for you to knock out the castle ride that's right there, Forbidden Journey, if that's of interest to you, because early in the morning, that is also like a people eater ride that moves pretty quick. And since it's been open for a little bit, we have seen those weights drop too, especially first thing in the morning. So if those are like your top-ish, then go ahead and just knock those both out right away. And then if you're interested, double back a little bit and head to VelociCoaster. We are assuming, again, these are very, very like deeply rough guesstimate times because it's nearly impossible to predict accurately. So we're thinking, let's say you get on Hagrid's first, you get through the queue, whatever, you are all done. This will stick you near 11-ish. If you did VelociCoaster first, you're going to be on and off that pretty quick. You'll be on and off by 10 at the latest. And I think that's even a generous estimation because like we said before, it's a very high capacity ride. You're going to be in and out pretty quickly. This is probably the time to, if you're like closer to 11, you're going to want to maybe think about lunch, which is crazy because you just rode one singular, maybe two rides. But again, you are going to want to eat at off time. So if you can wait until later, have a snack. If you are like firmly like, I need to eat an actual meal because I camped out overnight in front of IOA, then, this would be the time to go pop in and grab something to eat. Again, before the long waits for food, it seems a little heinous to be eating so early. Not for me, I love eating early, but for a lot of people that don't feel that way. So this is the time to grab that lunch so you beat that lunch rush and can pop in another line while other people are eating lunch. Like we said earlier, maybe you knocked out the secondary Harry Potter attraction. Maybe you didn't after you've eaten. I would not recommend doing that. So maybe just bucket that for a little bit. Cross back when the line seems to be dropping. But the other thing that actually might not be the worst idea if you didn't eat is crossing over to go do the Hulk, right? So that way you get sort of the big three coasters immediately done. We have done it before. It kind of is a bummer to have to sprint up and then down through the park. It's not ideal, but this is like one of the easiest ways to guarantee, if you are a coaster person, that you get on those big three coasters immediately. And then you will probably have them knocked out before launch. Given the general wait times, even without Express, you will safely, within that 4-hour span, probably be able to knock out all three of those, if not maybe bleeding over a little bit into the early afternoon. What may also be a good option is if you hit up Hagrids and VelociCoaster, and then head right on over to Spider-Man. But with Spider-Man, it's air conditioned. Who doesn't love a nice little air condition after just sprinting throughout this park to get to where you're going? But also, like, the waits in the morning prior to lunch tend to be a little lower than in the afternoon when there's, people were able to wrangle their kiddos and whatnot. So just keep an eye on times. That you're gonna hear this refrain, especially when you don't have Express. The app is gonna be your best friend. So keep an eye on times. If it's 45 or under, just hop in that line, even on your way over to Hulk. So a good path might be sprint up to Hagrid's, sprint down to VelociCoaster, power walk because it's 1,000 degrees down to Spider-Man, and then hit Hulk, right? It is a lot of movement if you are dead set on hitting everything as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you can do what we had mentioned before. Just hit the first two, whatever those may be. If you want to go Hulk immediately, if you want to go Hagrid's, whatever those are, hit those two, and then slowly make your way throughout the park, and just keep an eye on those times and hop in line with whatever seems to be a low wait that is of interest of you, and then wait for your third main attraction until after dinner.
So now that you've had some early lunch or breakfast or what have you, and kind of ridden some of your, kind of top rides, um, we recommend kind of moving over to either the Marvel area or the Jurassic Park areas if you kind of waited until later in the afternoon for that lunch. Um, Again, depending on where you land to, right? If you're closer to the Marvel area, you can head over there, and grab some lunch at the Captain America diner. That again has your like chicken fingers and hamburgers and all of those kind of standard options. They also have like milkshakes and stuff if you're into that. Or you can head to Jurassic Park, which like we said is kind of our go-to for lunch options because they do again have the chicken fingers and things like that. There's pizza, there's all kinds of, safe food options for any picky eater. So definitely kind of head that way if you're still needing to have lunch and didn't already do that early lunch. So after that, definitely check on the wait times again. Again, the app is your best friend. If wait times are high and you have kids with you, again, this might be a good time to head to Seuss Landing because the kiddos can kind of run around. There's rides there for them. The waits are usually not very long, even during busy times. So it might be good to just kind of head there, get some quick rides in while, wait times are long and you're waiting for things to kind of drop on some of those other rides. If you don't have any kiddos and, the aren't interested in Seuss Landing, otherwise, we highly still recommend doing the Cat in the Hat ride. But we understand it might not be everybody's cup of tea. So if you're still looking for, some other rides to do, more thrill rides kind of things, definitely, do that crisscrossing, see what the lowest wait times are. Jurassic Park's river ride is definitely something to consider at this time. And again, if it's like afternoon, super hot, it is a water ride. So it's a nice way to cool down. But
Not quite as dramatic as Dudley Do Right for
we're not someone swimming.
This isn't diving into an Olympic pool while you are on a log flume. You will get wet. I would say it's probably equivalent to Splash Mountain. It's not, you get wet, but it's not, it's not buckets of water.
Not terrible, right? So nice way to cool down in the afternoon heat. Or you can go on Doctor Doom's Fearfall in the Marvel Island, or do the Spider-Man ride if that's not too long of a wait either. So kind of a chance to knock out some of those other rides. Like we said, afternoon, generally not a good time to do Hulk. This can get pretty long lines, as we said before. It is also like it tends to like go down but then quickly come back up, which I think tends to make the line a little bit longer. So, and again, I kind of black out on it when it's super hot out and it's like super bright sun in the middle of the afternoon. So this is one to maybe wait until later on in the day to do. But definitely some of those other rides in the superhero area, are something to hit up during this time.
And something just to be reminded of, and we talked about this at USF as well, is yes, you need to have your top 3 rides, but then you also need to rank your next probably 5 at least for IOA. Just so you have an idea of what 5 rides you're looking at. Where am I at geographically? What makes sense on that list to go to next? Like to give yourself some sort of guidance as you're going through, because it will be even worse if you don't have that and you're just going strictly off of wait times. when it comes to running crisscrossing across the park. So you really need to have your primary list of your top 3 that we talked about. That's going to be Hagrid's and VelociCoaster and probably the Hulk or something like that. But that next 5 rides is really important too, because it will help save you at least a little bit of walking and a little bit of the whole, again, I'm going to do this. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? What do you think we should do next? I don't know. Where are we at? What should we go? What's near us? All of those questions can be solved if you just take 10 minutes with your group, or if you are the designated person, like I am always the designated person when it comes to my my trips with my family. Like, okay, here's our next group of rides that we're going to try and hit. Do that. Save yourself some time.
And again, no, we kind of left out some rides as we're talking because that's kind of how we would do a Universal day without Express Pass. But if you're like, nope, I love water rides and like WD rights and all that stuff is like high on your priority list, then okay, maybe forget the Spider-Man ride and, kind of focus on those instead. But, this is kind of our best advice on what to really hit if you want to hit major, key attractions, and you don't have those express passes where you could maybe go around and do everything.
I will just say, you do not have to rope drop, Dudley. I just want to be
Certainly not.
I just want to be clear.
That was not what I was saying. I'm just teasing you.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Because we said it before, just said it now. This is constructed based on what we are interested in, because this is the easiest for us to give you a framework to work off of. But like, if you do not care about the Incredible Hulk coaster, don't stress. There's plenty of other things in that area that you could swap it out for, or whatever your rank would be. 100%.
Well, and you can easily fit in, we've already talked in our itinerary about walking between Jurassic and Marvel. Well, if you're doing that, you're passing by some other things that you could also include in your itinerary if that's what your group wants to do. So if you want to go on the water rides on your way from the Jurassic area towards Marvel, there's your chance to do it, So that's really why you have to do that research to figure out what makes sense for your group. Now, that all being said, if you are like lost and you're just like, I don't even know, I'm not sure, send us a message. We are here to help. We've said this with all of our other episodes. I specialize in a lot of the Disney itinerary stuff. Duck and Jess are great when it comes to Universal. So please just send us a message. We will help guide you based on your group's dynamic, because it is really based on who you're traveling with, how old they are. Do they like thrill rides? Do they like water rides? What IP do they like? All of those questions. But if you answer those for us, we can give you a custom itinerary that will work for your group. So send us a message, send us an email, momstreetusa@gmail.com. We will help you. Okay, let's continue now. What about, okay, so we're at dinner time now-ish,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this'll bring you about to dinner. Again, this could be a little bit earlier, this could be a little bit later. It just depends on kind of what you're doing and where you are and how hungry your group is, right? I get hangry very quickly.
Oh, it's like a toddler sometimes too when you're in a theme park because it's so hot you don't want to eat, but then you like are
Yes.
overly hungry, so then you start to like go crazy and like, oh, maybe I should eat something. But like, assuming kiddos are like, I'm not hungry, I just want to go run and have fun. You kind of get the same way as an adult too. I'm not just saying you, me too.
I was gonna say, why yes.
Just calling you out.
I also get overstimulated like a toddler. Thank you for noticing. No, 100%. It is just so much going on, and especially if you're there for one day, you want to fit in as much as you can. But like, please, please, please make sure that you're scheduling, even if you are like, it's a 10-minute sit down to just shovel fries in your face. Make sure you're sitting, make sure you're getting air conditioning, make sure you're hydrating. There is so much that's happening, and it is so easy to overheat or just like even get overwrought, and like that kind of stuff can ruin a day. So just always, every couple hours or so, just like take a check-in, be like, have I been drinking enough water? Have I been eating enough? This is just like general theme park guide, right? Like, have I been in air conditioning enough, especially in the Florida park? So, just general PSA that even though you may only have one day in the park, taking care of yourself at that park is still very, very important. And just to like go with that same advice of what you were giving before, Jackie, of picking your next list of attractions, I would also say when you have no express pass, the pick a place in every land that you know that you and your party will be able to eat. That way you don't have to make that decision when you are hangry
Yes.
and you are hot
Mhm.
and you are grumpy. You already know, okay, it is time for us to eat. I know I can go to Circus McGurgus. I know I can go to the Pizza Fari. I know that I can go to wherever it may be. Once you know your areas, then when that hunger hits or wherever your timing will take you, you know exactly where to eat. You're like, okay, I'm close enough to Marvel Land. I'm gonna go grab a quick chicken finger situation in there, and then I'm gonna be able to get back to it rather than like,
Right.
where am I? I don't know what it is. I don't know what food options are in here. I see a pretzel cart. I'm just gonna grab something, right? Like it takes over. I keep saying the pretzel cart because they have 1,000 of them in here, but it's it's just so easy to recommend. But you know what I mean? So it just takes off as much planning as you can do ahead of time to reduce the friction of the decisions in the park. That is the great things to pick. So picking your top attractions, picking your next couple of attractions, say 5 or so, and picking the places that you know that you and your party will eat, then you're going to have smooth sailing because you can make informed decisions throughout your trip.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Okay, so after we have made our informed decision for dinner and we have enjoyed our dinner that we didn't have to stress out about because we made that informed decision.
You made some informed decisions, you sat in a little air conditioning, you're ready to go. This is, again, what we call cleanup time, right? This is you're checking wait times and seeing what's lowest. Maybe you are chancing walking back to Hagrid's and hanging out back there for a little bit because it went down earlier and you're seeing if and when that wait will drop, right? This is sort of like when it's a good idea if you didn't get on that third option, or maybe you even want to try for a re-ride, just sort of hang out in the area of that attraction and check the wait times, check in with the team members, sort of get a sense and a feel because we said this last episode, but the number board of how long it is, the wait actually is, will update faster in real time than on the app. So it's a little harder to do at IOA than it is at USF simply because of the size of the park and the number of attractions that are, of interest to most folks attending the theme park. So if you can kind of hang out in the general area of what you desperately want to do a ride of after dinner, that's a safe thing to do, right? So it's either the extra attraction that you didn't ride, maybe it's a re-ride. If you have gotten your fill, this is also time for shopping or atmosphere or just sitting down and people watching for a little bit, right? This is our time, as we say, like the cleanup time to really take in and enjoy the theme park because you're still in a theme park. As fun as all the rides are,
Mhm.
you should still be able to slow down and take a moment and really enjoy you being in the park.
I love that. Okay. So I think hopefully we covered most of IOA. Again, without the express, there were just things that we left off of that list. So do your best to make it make sense geographically based on what is on your list if it's something that was not on our list whenever we just gave you that whole rundown.
The one thing that we didn't bring up a ton of, though, was the character meet and greets.
Mm.
There's not a billion of them here, but pretty much each land will have something of some sort. So if that's of interest to you or you have kiddos that are like super, or even if you yourself are just like into character meet and greets, Marvel has the most of them. They'll rotate them through frequently. There's Spider-Man, there's various members of the Fantastic Four, there's Storm, they'll have Hobgoblin. So like there's quite a variety over there. But each land will have something.
Mhm.
So if that's of interest to you, that's also something to just check and throw on your itinerary. The other thing that I'll say is these like extraneous things like the castle light show or even some of the meet and greets or like the little raptor encounter situation that we talked about in Jurassic. Always, always, always check your app day of because there are times where they're just not going to have it, right? They might not be running it for whatever reason. It could be weather related, it could be season related, right? If it's like a slower season, they may not offer every single thing as often as they do in a high season or at all. So have these things in mind as an option, but with those sort of like team member dependent, weather dependent type of things, don't bank on it for your trip. So they're good to be aware of, but don't maybe make it necessarily your number one must do priority, lest ye be disappointed.
Yeah, that's a good to note because we did talk a little bit sort of about characters earlier, so that is a good note to make. Love it. Any final thoughts, Duck and Jess, about IOA that we haven't talked about? I think we covered most of it, but anything else we should know about one day at IOA?
I think I feel pretty good about what we covered. I think truly those lists, reducing the friction of your day is the best thing that you can do. Have as much planned out ahead of time as possible. And always remember you're in a theme park to have fun, right?
Mm.
Things happen. Sometimes you got to pivot plans.
Right.
Sometimes the Incredible Hulk has to take a nap and you're not going to be able to get on it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just happens. Things are out of your control. Be flexible and always have plans A through Z. So,
Love it. Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode of Mom Street USA. This is again episode 4 of our 7 of the one day park strategies that we are providing to you. So if this is the first one you have listened to, we have already covered USF, which we already talked about. We have also covered Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom over at Disney. Up next will be Epcot. So Epcot will be next on our list. We'll do Epcot. We'll hop back over to Epic Universe and do that to wrap up the Universal side, and then end with Hollywood Studios over at the Disney side, which is
we'll get through this together, I promise.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. But make sure that you stay tuned for those. That also being said, we are going to be making some kind of graphics going along with these itineraries that we talked about, just to give you kind of a visual to be looking at. So if you're someone that is a visual person, the first half of those graphics are coming very soon over on our Patreon account. So if you have not found us over on Patreon, the link to that is in our social media bios. We are at Mom Street USA on all of our social medias, and on the Patreon account as well. So those will be over there, as well as our unedited versions of our episode, which this one had some good tangents on it. So you might want to hop over there and see what you may have missed. But that is also lives over on our Patreon, as well as some exclusive kind of sneak peek looks at what we're going to be talking about coming up. Very soon over on our Patreon, we're going to have to start planning our holiday Christmas episode. So that is coming up just around the corner, it feels like, which is insane to say. So stay tuned over there if you've got some input. I know so many of our wonderful Mom Street community members have been here for all of the Christmas episodes that we've done and all of the crafting and the fun that we have had over there for those. So stay tuned for more of that to come over on our Patreon account. But for now, I think that puts a nice little bow on IOA, and we will see you on the next episode of Mom Street USA. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.